in addition to Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina calling for martial law, calling for the U.S. military to install Trump in power, even after January 6th happened, there's also a Republican congressman from Tennessee telling White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows that Republican legislatures should just overrule the vote in their states and proclaim Trump the winner. Congressman Mark Green of Tennessee told the White House Chief of Staff that should happen in various Republican-controlled states because he described a guest on Newsmax as saying that was a legal possibility. Also, a North Carolina congressman pushing the same strategy. Congressman Greg Murphy of North Carolina pushing the same strategy as Green, cut and pasted from a right-wing website in his case. Also, another North Carolina congressman suggesting to Mark Meadows, in this case it was Ted Budd of North Carolina, he suggested to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows that the voting machines had all been rigged by George Soros. That congressman actually not only is going back to Congress, he's going back to Congress as a senator, because he just got promoted to U.S. Senator in last month's election in North Carolina, Ted Budd. Also, right-wing favorite Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona. He sent the White House Chief of Staff a link to supposed evidence of election rigging. He got this supposed evidence and he forwarded the citation to Mark Meadows in the White House. The blog that he got the information was called Some Swear Word Told Me. Word that starts with B and rhymes with Mitch. Some blank told me. That's the name of the blog that he cited to the White House Chief of Staff to justify whatever means were necessary to keep Trump in power. Some B told me. Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio texting a detailed plan for how Vice President Mike Pence could overturn the election and proclaim Trump to have been reelected when he wasn't. Jim Jordan is expected to become chairman of the House Judiciary Committee next year. And in lots of cases, there's no record of Mark Meadows ever replying to these messages. But in some cases, he does. And there are also references that suggest he was communicating with many of these members of Congress separately on encrypted messaging apps. And those would be messages that, as far as we know, the January 6th investigation has not yet obtained. Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, he exchanged so many texts with Mark Meadows full of Baroque conspiracy theories about Italian satellites rigging voting machines and the CIA director being in cahoots with the British government, to steal the election for Biden. Why would the CIA work with the Brits to steal? There was so much of that from Republican Congressman Scott Perry. The Talking Points memo has a whole separate article tonight dedicated just to Scott Perry's texts to and from the White House Chief of Staff. Congressman Scott Perry chairs something called the House Freedom Caucus, which is a powerful group of far-right Republicans whose power is set to grow next year under the Republicans' razor-thin House majority. It may also be the entity that determines who gets to be the next Republican Speaker of the House. We also reached out to Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania for comment tonight, but we have not yet heard back. Again, many of these text messages have been reported before, some of them in drips and drabs. But the difference tonight is that we now know, A, we can see all these text messages together, right? But also these guys are going to be in charge of the U.S. Congress, in charge of the U.S. House in just a few weeks, which means, among other things, as I said, that the January 6th investigation, which first unearthed these text messages, that's going to be shut down because, of course, if you were a Republican who had been involved in this stuff during the January 6th era, of course you would like to shut down that investigation.